Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Flex and Reflect Sunday Sit Down. Normally, I do these outside, but it's getting cold here. So I'm sitting in my office right now, and I thought I would do it from my desk. So let's leap into the questions. If this is the first episode that you're joining, then I think this is episode 24. Each week, I respond to the questions that I've been sent through, either asked by clients or emailed through, texted, social media and so forth. And then I pick out sort of some that I can answer in the sort of a 20-minute time frame based on, what comes through. So in no particular order, it's an interesting one. If you could train with any historical figure known for their physical prowess or philosophy on health, who would it be and why? How do you think their approach would differ from modern techniques? All right. Well, I guess if it's from like the immediate one that comes to mind, that if I could work out with them, would be Arnold, mainly because from I can remember the very first movie that I saw on, I think it was on DVD. The very first movie I saw on DVD was in primary school. Maybe it was even on Laserdisc or Gee, hang on. Now that I come to think about it, they wouldn't have existed. It must have been on VHS. I remember went around to a friend's house and they had this new system set up, which it must have been VHS. It must have had like surround sound and stuff, and it was Commando that had Arnold in it. And I'm like, man, look at the muscles on this guy, and like it was amazing. And um, yeah, I guess through my own personal journey of getting into weight training and that kind of stuff, and then being around like some bodybuilders and stuff. I mean, I just grew a lot of respect for Arnold, obviously for what he was being able to do for his own training. And yes, he admits to having taken steroids and that been sort of percentage of his improvement in his training and that kind of stuff. But you put all that stuff aside, he's a great businessman, obviously an action hero. He's gone from somebody that was completely unknown to there's probably not a country in the world where people wouldn't know if you said Arnold, you know who you're talking about. I think doing a workout with him would be absolutely awesome. And in terms of what was the second part? How do you think the training of the approach would differ from modern techniques? Well, I mean, he still trains. He talks about training um, like 4 or 5 times a week. He trains at Gold sometimes. He trains in his own with his own equipment that he's got at home. I think just that the only real difference to the training approach really is the knowing your limitations of your body. And obviously, he's not as big as he was. He's not as strong as he was, but you can still do work through the same motions. When I see him working out, he's tending to use, well, this may be just the way that it's edited too, but he's using a lot of machines and things like that. But he also does some cardio work as well. So honestly, I don't think it would differ too much at all. But I think that would be an awesome experience just to tap into his mind and just have that, once in a lifetime type of experience. I think would be really cool. Question two. I listened to one of your podcasts where you talked about being bullied. How has that impacted your self-confidence? Well, I was bullied as a child, and so I was, do you know what? I can't really remember exactly, but I was probably 12. Yeah, I'm going to say 12. So it was around sort of year seven where it started to happen. And so around 12, 13 years of age. And it really zapped my self-confidence as a child. I mean, you think about when you're a kid, you're trying to find your place in the world. You're trying to belong to something. You're trying to stand out, but you're also trying to find, where it is that you're kind of going, I suppose. You're not thinking about rest of your life and so forth, but certainly as the years progress, you're thinking about, well, I was anyway, as I get in, like year 9, year 10, what are the subjects I'm going to pick for year 11 and 12? And then am I going to go on to uni, and what am I going to do? And there were things that drove me to do that, because no one in my family had done that. And so I wanted to do that. I wanted to move away from home. I wanted to become financially free and all that kind of stuff. But certainly as a kid, it really dented my self-confidence. It was something to, like, I was a short kid, tiny little kid. I wasn't really any good at the sports that I liked here. I wasn't popular. I didn't really have any friends, and I wasn't really a smart student either. I didn't connect with the way that they learn. Now, keep in mind, like I'm 55, so I was going to, what, I finished year 12 in 1986. So just worked that backwards. So the early 80s, I'm in high school. I mean, everything's very, very different to what it is now and how we can learn. There was no internet. You couldn't search up things to find out how to learn. The teaching was quite different. You either learned it in the classroom, or you had to read it in the book, and that was it, or you learn it from your friends. And I didn't really have friends. I had to do it by myself. My parents didn't really know the stuff that I was doing. So it was, as in, like, they didn't have the skills or whatever for the subjects, or the time, or patience, or whatever. So you had to find it out by yourself. So I had a very, very low self-esteem. But I was bullied again when I went to uni, and that was the moment where I said, I'm too old for this stuff. I was like 21, and someone threatened to kill me. And I'm like, do you know what? I never want to feel immobilized ever again. And for me, it was about, I couldn't get any taller, but I could get bigger in terms of my muscles and so forth. And so I remember when I first started training, I wanted to put on 10 kilos in 10 weeks, and completely change my body. And I didn't realize it at the time, but for me, my first step was, if I could get more confident, well, get a bigger body, I would have more confidence in me, and I would be stronger, and I would have more confidence to stand up to a situation if somebody bullied me. Because I guess my mindset was, I'm a little guy. Everybody's taller than me and bigger than me. So if I try and fight back or whatever, then I'm going to be pulverized and get more hurt. So I just didn't. Now, the changing the physical me, it wasn't until years later. I don't know exactly when. It could have even been like a decade later that I realized it actually had nothing to do with the physical part. It was all about how I thought about myself. But I had to go on that physical journey to get to the mental spot that really didn't matter. But it's also been a beautiful journey for me, because if that didn't happen, that last incident didn't happen, I wouldn't have gone to the gym. Maybe I would have one day, but I wouldn't have gone for the same reasons. And I wouldn't be talking to you here today, because I would have probably stayed being an accountant. I would still be in corporate life. I wouldn't have run my own business. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't be getting the business coaching. I wouldn't be doing the self-development. So all of these things lead to that next step. And so it's probably one of the reasons I think why it's a good question, because actually one of the reasons I think that I am so driven to do what I do now is to just prove, um, certainly to myself, what I'm capable of. But I think probably this, a realization right now. Probably part of it is kind of like in your face to all those people that bullied me in the past, and like, where are you now? And look at where I am, kind of thing. So maybe there's a part of that. Um, I think looking back, the people say to me now that my superpower is my mental toughness. Hence why I've got a podcast called the Mental Toughness and Body Show. And I think what has made me mentally tough is because of the bullying and those other things that have gone on through my life, to make me realize that I kind of look at it like, there's a scene in Superman Returns where Superman is walking towards this machine gun, and you can see the bullets just flying off him, and he's just walking, and you can just see the scene is like all the bullets are just bouncing off his chest. And it kind of feels like that. It's like there's nothing that can come my way that I can't deal with. And unfortunately, because I do have a public profile on social media and everything as well, the more success that you have, that can bring out haters and people that just want to try and drag you down, particularly here in Australia. And it's like that doesn't particularly bother me anymore. It would have at one point in my life, but I realized that that normally comes out of some insecurity or something in someone else's life. And like my coach says, what someone else thinks of you is none of your business. And so I really don't, I don't worry about that kind of thing. If there's anything that is like bullying that involves like physical bullying or that kind of stuff, then I mean, now there's ways of dealing that through legal means and so forth, which I've had to do since I've been in business. But it's I think the bullying for me has just made me more mentally tough. But having said that, it was a hell of a journey to get to where I am now. So it is really, really difficult. Back when I was a kid, back in the early 80s, I mean, it wasn't talked about. Even the word bullying, it wasn't talked about. It was like you're picked on, and that was it. And I guess we were conditioned to just deal with it ourselves. So it's very different now. And I think if that is something that you're going through, because I saw my daughter go through it as well, and she's no longer here because of what triggered the start of her eating disorder was bullying. And so I would say to you, if that is something that you are going through, like I don't have context of the age of the person asking the question, but if that's something that you are going through, then you need to speak to people about it, whether it be your friends, whether it be your family, whether it be a professional, because it can manifest its way into something, way greater. And look, to be honest, I guess I went from 11, 12, through to my early 12. Yeah, I was 20, 21, I think, when I was bullied that last time. Actually, I was 20. And so that's a long time, to be going through that period of time where you don't have any self-confidence and that kind of stuff. But I was also growing up in an era where there was no social media. So the bullying happened in physical presence as opposed to it can be happening behind the scenes, behind the keyboard and stuff now. So it happens, it magnifies very quickly and people can get very, very mean behind the keyboard. So you've got to make sure that people are aware and that you get things out of your head because it will eat you up. It really will. But it is also made me who I am now. So all is not lost. If that's what you're going through, I'm sorry for it. People are horrible to good people, but there is a way. There is a way through it. And for me, it was through my physical health, and it was through physically changing my body and giving me the confidence and realizing that you know what, there's a lot of haters out there, and I just want to keep climbing up the ladder of success. And if you think of it like a pyramid or like a spear, the tip of the spear is there's not much up there, right? The bottom is overcrowded, not the top. And if you think about you just getting up there, you'll find all these bullies, they're down the bottom. You just keep moving ahead of them and you try and push it to one side and just feel great about who you are. All right, next question. Extreme. This one's about extreme fatigue. I love my workouts, but I'm suffering from extreme fatigue for a while now. My iron levels are good, no other signs of medical issues, and I'm 32 years of age. Do you have any suggestions? Yeah, so I have quite a bit of experience with this through my clients. Obviously, things that I've experienced myself. And look, I have no context here of, you say there's no medical issues, but whether you have actually, like you're working with a specialist or a doctor, or whether you're male or female, uh, there's there's a lot that can go into this. So let me just talk about some basic concepts. So You said you love your workouts. So if we break down what results in us being extremely fatigued, and I can relate this to personal experience. First one is if I'm getting to that stage, I take kind of like take a step back and look at myself and say, all right, so what have I been doing? And the first thing I look at is if I'm not starting to enjoy my workouts and I go into the gym and I'm feeling really, really tired before I even start, then I'll have a look and say, well, am I overtraining? When was the last time I had a break? Now, to put that into context, I tend to push myself quite hard for 12 weeks, and then I'll have a week off, like a week off strength training altogether, to allow my body to just kind of repair. I use that week to work on my mindset to kind of get excited about that next phase. You may not want to stop in 12 weeks, but maybe you're willing 14, 15, 16, and you start to find you're getting burnt out. So if you cycle it like every 3 months, then you'll find that you can stay fresh and really excited about your training. So I look at that first to say, am I training too much? Like if I'll give you an example with me. I have been getting into a really good routine of training 3 days a week. I thought, you know what, I'm feeling good. I'm going to take it up to 4. So I'm just going to have a drink. And I did that for 2 weeks. And then I was completely exhausted. And I found that the next workout I got into, I couldn't do it. So I had to miss a couple of workouts. And I figured that, why is that happening? And I looked at, say, my age, for instance. And one thing that I have really noticed is that it takes me longer to recover between workouts now. Now, I do have a very hectic business life and everything. And I look at my sleep and think, oh, maybe I'm just not going, maybe I need more sleep now in order for me to recover, to be able to get back to those workouts and stuff. And look, it's been a year since my daughter passed away. And I know that there's stuff in the background there. I mean, I think it's coming up next Sunday night, but I recently did a 60 minutes filming for here in Australia, and that was like a day and a half of filming. I did a docu-series a couple of months ago, and that's coming up in July, and again, that was with Channel 9 as well, all about really emotional stuff with my daughter, the pain and suffering. And so when the media reaches out to me on that kind of stuff, it's the sort of thing that I don't like dig down deep too often. But of course, for the purpose of their story, they want you to go really, really deep with it. And that brings up a lot of stuff. And I think that just kind of, I'll say, circulates in the back of my mind, and either consciously or unconsciously. And that for me results in fatigue. And sometimes it's, I'll say, emotional fatigue. And so then that may have been an impact for me as well. So I just think, okay, I need to understand that I need more rest, and that 4 days of training for me at the moment, at this stage of my life, maybe down the track as my schedule frees up and that kind of stuff. But right now, I'm focusing on just doing 3 days a week. So that can be a part of the burnout phase as well. Just the the overtraining, you've just got stuff going on in your life, that kind of stuff. So like stress, for instance, is a big one. It can just sit there. Now, it depends on what's going on there. I mean, it could be relationship wise, it could be financial, the cost of living, it could be pressures at work, it could be family pressures, it could be child issues, whatever it is, there is stress on us every single day. And all of that can add up into emotional fatigue, which can then result in extreme fatigue. Another one is about your food. Now, you said your iron levels are good. So for women, they can tend to have low iron just because of their monthly cycles and so forth, and not replacing the iron levels that are required for energy. So that can be another one. Just that maybe there's some deficiencies in vitamins and minerals and so forth in the body. So I think working with your GP around some supplementation like whether it's a multivitamin. I find fish oil is good for the mindset, vitamin D, and all that kind of stuff. They can all be good, but you need to talk to your GP about it. You're eating. A lot of people, when they first come to see me, they think, yeah, my food's pretty good. And when they go through it, it's very lacking in, like, it's not balanced. So each meal should really have some protein. It should have some plant food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I recommend some high energy carbs in there as well. So like your grains, things like rice, potato, um, breads, pastas, that kind of stuff. A balanced portion of those as well. Your sleep is also really important. So generally, I say 6 to 8 hours, but if you're consistently getting less than 6 at 32, I'd say you probably need a little bit more sleep. If you have something like chronic fatigue, then the extra sleep tends not to help. But I think it's very quick for people to just jump to something and say, "Oh, it's chronic fatigue. It's chronic fatigue." Where when it's not, it can be a lot of these other factors as well. I think, look, I've mentioned a bunch of things in there. I think the bottom line is if you stick to your healthy lifestyle, don't overtrain. If it's been a while since you've had a break from your strength training, have a week off. Still focus on eating well. Make sure that you're maybe just going out for walks and that kind of stuff. You're not absolutely thrashing yourself with burning calories and worrying about those sorts of numbers. And just have a look at some of those lifestyle factors that I've mentioned. Just check in with those and see how you're going. Otherwise, I'd say reach out for a consultation with me. You can go to, probably the easiest way, if you go to mentaltoughnessandbodyshow.com, you can opt in for a free consult there. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, and we can have a one-on-one chat about some more detail about what's going on for you. So I took a bit longer to get through that. I've got two more questions, but I'm just looking at the time, and it's a little bit longer than I wanted it to go. So thanks for those questions. I'll carry over the last two questions into next week, and I'll answer those ones first. So thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great Sunday. See you next week.